the same time, and it was a very exciting time for us. And we actually started the group in the Kingston area, which is
Jim?
Oh yes.
Do you want to talk about your first drum kit?
Yes, that's right. It's a good idea. I actually I love the old rock and roll music, of course, as I said, and I borrowed £11 from my father. Sorry about that. I borrowed £11 from my father to buy a drum kit I saw in the local newspaper. Thank you, guys. There's a lot on. Can you open that for me? While you're there. Yes, please. I'll have some. So the drum kit was very simple, and it comprised of just a snare drum and a hi-hat and a bass drum. But it was fine to get started, you know, and we used to practice in Paul's living room, and his dad used to come in and always say, the music's all right, but we'll have a bit less of that, and he pointed at the bass drum, so I always had to hold it down. Anyway, finally we got together in the Kingston area, which was near where we lived, just south of London. And we were basically from two schools. Paul Samuel Smith and I were from Hampton Grammar School, which is a sort of equivalent to your high school, and the rest of the guys were at Kingston Art School. That was Topham, actually. He was the first lead guitar player. Chris Dreyer and Keith Ralph, and they were all from the art school. But Paul and I were sort of in a high school, so we sort of looked down on them. You know, they didn't get scholarships. But there's a picture of Paul at school. He didn't change a lot, but I did. I changed a bit on my picture. And so we used to hang out in a pub in Kingston called the Crown, and all the would-be musicians used to hang out there. All the bohemians and the art students, and we finally got the group together. And as I said before, Topham was the first lead guitar player, and he was a great guy. He was younger than the rest of us, and his father was an artist. And Top was a very good artist. He was at the art school, and his father, Top's father, wanted him to carry on with his art studies, and didn't want him hanging out with a rock band or whatever we were at that time. And so Top decided to leave the band, which was a shame because he was a good player and a great guy. But there happened to be this other guy that was at the art school called Eric Clapton. And he came down for an audition, and of course got the job. But he was very enthusiastic and very dedicated. He loved playing blues, and he had a bit of a name on the local in the local area. He played with a couple of other bands locally, and he had a bit of a name. And when he turned up, he was like quite cocky, you know. And I didn't like him too much, to be honest. but we got together, and finally we got quite matey, and he was very funny and turned out to be a good guy, you know. So we carried on, and we used to go and see the Stones. They used to play locally to us in a place called Richmond, funnily enough. And they played at this club called the Crawdaddy Club, and they did very well, and they played all that sort of Muddy Waters, Howling Wolf stuff, and they did great versions of it. And eventually they had some hits, and they had a couple of hits, and they got too big for the club, and they were looking for another group. And so we asked Giorgio Gamelski, who was the promoter of the club, to come down and see us rehearsing. He later told me, years later, Giorgio told me, he was walking up the stairs of the club and he heard us do this sort of big build-up, which became known as the rave-up. So he thought we were sufficiently different to the Stones, so he booked us. And it was a great break for us because we got the Stones' gig, and we were playing every week in this club, and we built it all up. But Giorgio was a real character, and he was someone I would suggest was a bohemian, because he was into films and all sort of things, and he smoked Gauloise cigarettes, and he lived in Earl's Court, and we used to go up to his apartment, and he was like sort of a cool guy, Parisian chic, shall I say? So we got the job, and we built up the name, and eventually we were very lucky because we got this offer to play with the Beatles at their Christmas show in Hammersmith, which was quite locally.
Jim?
Have I missed something out?
The whole Sonny Boy Williamson?
Oh yes, of course, Sonny Boy.
The National Jazz with the big halls.
Yes, of course, sorry. I'm sorry, God.
It's okay this time.
God's not very flexible in these matters, You have to stick to the script. So yeah, Giorgio used to bring over all these great black R&B sort of blues musicians from America, and they used to come over and play these halls in England. People like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf and Sonny Boy Williamson. They used to come and play about half a dozen shows in England, quite big halls, so we always used to go and see them, and it was always a special night going to see them. And one day Giorgio sort of took us under his wing, and he became our manager. One day he brought Sonny Boy Williamson down to where we were playing. We were playing just in a little pub near one of their venues, actually in Croydon, out in Surrey. And he brought Sonny Boy and some of the other blues musicians, and they sort of sat in with us. I don't think they thought much of us really, but he asked Sonny Boy whether he'd like to stay over in England and play some more gigs, and Sonny Boy was quite happy because he quite liked the adulation of all the young girls and all that stuff, which I don't think he got back in the States. But he was a great character. And we did an album with him. It was Giorgio's idea to record this live album, and he came to the Crawdaddy, and we recorded it. And it was a bit of a shambles, to be honest, because we rehearsed all these songs in the afternoon that he was going to play. And then when we did the show, he did a whole load of different songs. Nobody knew what he was doing, and they were all asking what keys he playing in, and the result was very, very tentative. But he was a great guy, Sonny Boy, and it was a lovely memory. So back to the script. Back when we got the no, you're too soon now.
No, the Beatles is after
this. We were looking for a hit because all our we were getting more and more popular in the club, and we were looking for different songs to do because all the other bands at the time, the Animals and the Kinks and the Moody Blues and people like that, they'd all had big hits. So we, that was the next step to get a hit. So we tried various songs. And we're gonna play now one of the songs we tried. It's a song by the Neville Brothers called "A Certain Girl."